People don't give a fuck what you say. A lot of people do not understand this. They care about what you do. All of a sudden, you second guess so many obstacles in my path.
I'm gonna hold your hand when I say
You don't think that you gonna make
it
it?
seems like there's something standing in my way. Keep relying on
It
tomorrow.
could change the entire trajectory of what your life is. You the baseline. The moment that they see you not display the things that you preach, it don't fucking matter. You feel me? What's going on, everybody? It's that ordinary podcaster with the extraordinary thoughts that tells you to stop being great and be extraordinary. I'm your host, Demetrius Thigpen, also known as Meech Speaks, and welcome back to another episode of the Meech Speaks Podcast. Now, before we get started with this podcast, don't forget to head on over to your favorite streaming platform, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or even YouTube, and leave this podcast an honest review, because this podcast deserves to grow just as much as we do. Lastly, merch is live. Head on over to the website. But most importantly, let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. This episode is getting recorded on Mother's Day, so I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, come on now, happy Mother's Day. Man, god damn, man. Like, it's so hard to raise some kids nowadays, I tell you. You feel me? It's so hard to raise some kids nowadays. And today's episode ain't even about kids. I promise you, I'm gonna get into what today's episode is all about. But man, I'm gonna be honest with you, especially as we talk about this on Mother's Day. But man, it'd be so hard to raise some kids. And I was just talking to somebody earlier today. You know what I mean? Like, I was just talking to somebody and I told them, I said, look, man, if your kids are bad, you feel me? Like, if your kids are bad, I can't even fuck with you. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even hang out with you if your kids are bad, because I know for a fact that you gonna have to bring them badass kids around me. And I don't do well when it comes to badass kids. You feel me? I just don't do well when it comes to bad kids. Now, as a father of 4, one thing I pride myself with is the fact that my kids have some fucking common sense wherever we go. They got some sense whenever they go. So it really will get under my skin if you got a badass kid. You know what I mean? Because eventually I'm going to stop looking at you to look at them, and I'm going to just start saying something to the kid, especially if they at my house. You know what I mean? Like, especially if they at my house and they acting a fucking fool. And what I've also learned is that badass kids tend to grow up and be badass fucking adults. Like, they tend to grow up and be entitled adults. They grow up and they tend to be greedy adults. They grow up and they, man, like, it really starts when you're a child, you know? And one thing that me and the mother of my children, we talk about, man, is just not just who we're raising, but who we are raising them to become. You feel me? Like, who are we raising our children to become? And one thing that I want, man, like, I want my children to be functioning members of society, and not just functioning members, but I want people to, when they see my kids, man, like, they're joy to be around. You know what I mean? Especially as they grow into adulthood. Like, I want them to be able to walk into a room and motherfuckers are actually happy that they're there. I want them to be functioning members on a team. I want my children to be people that people will want to be around. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, man. Like, you really want your child to be somebody that others will want to be around them. You know, like, you don't want to raise your kid to be somebody that people just can't fucking stand. You know, you don't want them to raise them to be a person where people like, oh man, this person about to walk into a room. You feel me? Like, they about to walk into a room. And that really comes into what today's episode is all about, you know? Now, for those who don't know, I've been in the Marine Corps, I want to say, September will make it 16 years. September will make it 16. And I have had the luxury and privilege to be at multiple units. I've been at great units. I've been at good units. I've been at terrible units. I've been at units where I'm like, bro, like, this cannot be the Marine Corps. You feel me? This cannot be the Marine Corps. I've been in units where the environment itself is so toxic that you can't even fucking breathe in it. You know, like, I remember I was at one unit one time, man, like, and the environment that we were in was just so fucking bad. Like, I'm talking about, it was so bad, bro, that I remember one time I showed up early to work out, and just thinking about being there, I ended up having a fucking anxiety attack. I remember ended up going home and crawling back in bed and just laying there for like an hour or two until it was actually time for me to go to work, because I just could not fathom being there. It was just so fucking bad. And I've also been in units where it was just a joy, bro. Like it was just a joy, to be there. Now, I can also say this. I've also been a part of the environment that I despise. All right. And I'm going to get into that. But I've also been a part of the environment that I've despised. And I've also been the reason why an environment has gotten better. And as I sit back and I reflect on that, man, like a lot of people don't understand is that, bro, like you either are making that environment terrible, you're either a part of that environment, or you're trying your best to make the environment better. And this week really brought that out. And for those who don't know, man, like I was funny way before I was ever motivational. I don't think a lot of people really understand that. Like Meech Speaks was actually funny way before he was motivational. And I've always just been a real funnier type of person. I'm pretty sure, like, if you've ever just noticed the way I say things or the things that I say, you could tell that I probably was just funny at one point in my life, or probably is. And we're at work. And the environment that I work in right now is like a 4-man, 3-man team. And one of the guys had said something to me. He said something to me, and I looked over at him, and I had to stop myself because I was like, "Oh man, you can't say that." You feel me? Like you can't say that. And I told him, I was like, I had the opportunity to say something worse or to say something mean, and I chose not to say that. You know that? Like I kind of chose not to say that. And he looked at me. He said, "Well, if you're not quick-witted, that's it's okay. We all not." When he said that to me, I'm gonna just be honest with you. When he said that to me, you feel me? Something in my brain triggered off. You feel me? Like something clicked off safe. Because I was just like, no, I told you that I just chose not to be rude. And you think that now that means that I just ain't got it. You feel me? Like I'm not quick-witted. I was like, all right, bet, say no more. And the moment that I said, say no more, my next sentence after that was just something rude. And it wasn't just rude though. You feel me? It was quick. You feel me? And I don't think a lot of people understand like how often we find ourselves stopping ourselves from saying some shit that we know we ain't got no business saying. Like how many times do you drive to work and you know for a fact that if you enter this conversation, these are the things that you want to say, but these are the things that you know that you can't. How many times have you had a conversation with somebody and you had to stop yourself and say, don't say that. That's not right. That's rude. That no longer exists in my head. I stopped filtering it. Somebody say something, click, boom, I'm saying something else. Didn't even care. It got to the point where somebody said, he was like, hey man, like if you remember what he was talking about yesterday, then you would know that this is something that he's not into. I was like this. Sometimes, to be honest with you, I really don't be paying attention to what y'all say because some of the things that y'all say don't even interest me. So why should I even be paying attention? I just wait until y'all are done talking so I can say something. That right there, even when I say it, I didn't like it. And when I say I didn't like it, I'm not saying it from a perspective of, oh, I didn't like it when I was saying it. No. And that's the scary part. I fucking loved every bit of it. I enjoyed I remember that whole week saying to myself, wow, this feels so fucking liberating. Because I'm normally stopping myself from saying shit. I'm normally changing the way that I fucking talk, bro. I normally am. But now that I'm not doing that, damn, this shit feels so fucking liberating. Like, is this what y'all feel like? Damn, man, this shit make me feel like I want to do it all the time. And I think by the end of the week, man, like I got to a point where I was just sitting back and I was just like, what the fuck? And I think I got to that point because I realized, like, although it's liberating, although it's funny, although it feels good, that wasn't even who I was. Like, that's not me. And we love to sit back and talk about like toxic environments, like we love to sit back and talk about like toxic workspace and shit on toxic leadership. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, toxic leadership did this to me. My environment did this. My unit was trash. But we leave out the part where we also contributed to that. Like we leave out the part where you was in a toxic unit, but you also was a part of that toxic unit. Like if I pulled somebody else from that unit, right? And I told them to tell me about that unit, you're also the bad guy in that story. You feel me? Like from somebody else's perspective, you're also a piece of shit. But we love to hoop, holler, and yell and talk about like how the unit fucked me. But I bet you if I pulled somebody else, they could tell me how you fucked them over, how you wasn't there, how you were also a contributing factor to it. And I get it, man. Like it's easy to tell a story through the lens of ourselves. You know what I mean? Like that's what we would do. But it's hard to take a step back and realize like, bro, like you contributed to this. And that's exactly what made me kind of like sick to my stomach is when I realized this ain't even who you are, bro. This is not who you are. You don't talk like this. This isn't your personality. And you feel inauthentic. You feel liberated, but you also don't feel real. Because you know that this ain't even you. So with that being said, man, let's go ahead and get started with today's episode, because today's episode is all about the toxic environments that we are in and how we play a role in them. Let's go ahead and get started. You know, I sit back and I'll say 10 minutes deep into the fucking episode, let's go ahead and get started. We started the moment that I fucking opened my mouth. You know what I mean? Like, I'm over here talking about, let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. The episode started. We 10 minutes in. The fuck is this, a trailer? You know what I mean? But as I sit back and I talk about environments, man, like one thing that we don't really talk enough about is the fact that we act the way that the room is going to reward. If that makes sense. Like we gonna do the shit that the room will reward. You feel me? If I walked into a room and everybody was about peace and love, guess what I would be? A peace and love type of person, especially if I want to be in that room. But in high competitive environments, once again, like them A-type personality environments, you feel me? Where everybody feels like they that alpha male, everybody feels like they that apex predator, everybody feels like they at the top of the food chain. People gonna be shit talking. So if I want to survive in this room, guess what I'm about to do? I'm about to talk me some shit. And ain't nothing wrong with it. You feel me? And the problem with that, there it is right there. The problem with that is that I'm going to do what the room rewards. So if I'm in a toxic environment, please understand that I'm going to do things that I want the room to reward me for. I'm a crack jokes to make everybody laugh at you. I'm a talk as if like I'm above you. You know what I mean? Because that's exactly how you're going to talk to me. That's exactly how I'm going to be accepted. And I think that's the biggest piece right there. Everybody always talks about like how we want to change this or be better. But the reality is, and let's just really just take all that bullshit out of there, deep down, we just want to be fucking accepted. Nobody wants to feel isolated, bro. Nobody wants to feel like as if when they go to work, they're the only one there. You want to be a part of a team. You want to be on the team. And if the team, this is how we do shit, then 9 times out of 10, especially if you want to be there, you're going to go ahead and do exactly what it is in order to reward it. But the reality is, man, is that when that's not who you are, right? Like that's not your character. That's not your true personality. That shit going to bother you when you're not in that room. When you driving home, that shit gonna eat at you. When you spent all day, like I don't think a lot of people understand it. When you spend all day pretending to be somebody that you're not, as soon as you get home, as soon as you get in the car, that shit gonna eat at you. It's gonna bother you because you know that you fucking pretended, but you just trying to survive. And I ain't trying to throw no shade at you. You just trying to survive. Now, one of the biggest things that I really want to echo throughout this entire episode, man, because I'm not speaking from a high horse. This your captain flying in on Experience Airlines. What I noticed throughout that entirety of it is that although that wasn't who I was, that didn't feel natural to me, that didn't make me feel comfortable, I also felt good. Like, I'm not even about to lie to you, man. Like, and I don't think and nobody ain't gonna say this. Ain't nobody gonna say this, but being mean feels good. All right. When somebody says something stupid and you call it out, man, that shit feels good. When you see somebody that's fat and they talking to you and you tell them to shut their fat ass up, that does feel good. I'm not even about to lie to you. Reminding somebody that you are better than them, it feels good. Letting somebody know where they sit on the food chain when it comes to you, it feels good. To remind a sheep that you a fucking sheep and I'm a lion, that feels good. When we go back and forth in those word disputes and I win, that shit feels good. Being the dominant personality in the room feels good. And that's the scary part, is because it feels good. And when you don't realize that just because it feels good doesn't mean that it's right, you find yourself doing shit that you normally wouldn't do. And I'll say that again. Just because it feels good doesn't mean that it's right. And although I laughed, although I felt better, although I felt like I was more a part of the room, I didn't like it. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't like it. You know, pretending to be this type of personality because that's what everybody will expect from me. I didn't like that. Because I know that's not who I am. And I know that I wouldn't want anybody to speak to me like that. And I know what type of environments I would want to be in. And me partaking in this did not sit right with me. And that was only a fucking week. And just like what I said earlier, though, like, we love to sit back and talk about how we were in a toxic environment, or how our unit was trash, or how our command sucked. But we always leave out the part that we also suck too. You want to talk about the unit being trash, but you was kind of trash too in it. You want to talk about the leadership being toxic, but you also had junior Marines and you was also toxic too. You want to talk about how they didn't help you, but you really didn't help anybody else either. And I bring that up, man, because we're always a villain in somebody else's story. But I bet you right now, if I pulled somebody from that period, that command, that unit, that era in your life, and I asked them to tell me about you, you probably was a piece of shit. You probably was toxic. You probably didn't make that environment any better. And that's the piece that a lot of people tend to forget. Is that a lot of times, man, like, we'll sit back, hoop, holler, and complain about some shit. But the reality is that you also contributing to that shit. And the reason why I bring that up is because it reminds me of one of my earlier episodes, especially when I was talking about like the catalyst of change. Like, if you change your habits, change your friends, change your environment, you have the opportunity to be able to make a change within your life. And when you find yourself in these type of situations, I think it will always lean back to what I had talked about. If you change your habits, right? If your habits consist of negativity, you feel me? Like, you constantly talking shit about somebody, you constantly complaining about something, you constantly always have this negative, what's that word? Negative, it's not connotation, negative view, there it is, negative view on the world. If you constantly have this negative view on the world, then what do you think your habits are? What do you think your self-talk is? What do you think your conversations with other people are? What do you think your disposition is? It's negative. Even when you walk into a room, man, like, if your habit is to just blend in and not cause a stir, or to just blend in and just do what the room is, that's a habit. You feel me? Like, that's also a fucking habit, you know? But if you have a habit of being positive, or you have a habit of pulling people up, if you have a habit of building people, if you have a habit of just being a light, that also will have a contributing factor, and it will also cause a major change. And not just a change within yourself, but also a change within the environment. You feel me? Now, talking about your environment. Now, reason why I always hated fucking self-help podcasts, self-help books, or anything when they talked about self-help is simply because I'm in the fucking military. The shit does not apply to me. I can't use it the same way that somebody else could, because every time somebody talks about a toxic environment or an environment that is not contributing to you, they always say leave. I can't fucking leave. Average contract is 4 years. I'm going to be at this unit for the next 3.5. Unfortunately, I cannot leave. So how do I change my environment? And I think it's really leaning heavier on these two, you know, the friends and habits. You know what I mean? Because if you can change your friends and you can change your habits, I promise you your environment will change. But also how you show up in your environment is also something that is major, because it's easy to walk into a room and just be a part of that room. It's easy to also walk into a room and bring that room down. It's easy to allow that room to be the contributing factor to why you have that negative habit or why you have this negative personality. I completely understand. If you are in a position where you can change your environment, then fucking change it, obviously. But for those who can't, the next one also can help. And that's just changing the people that you're around, bro. And when you change the people that you're around, because you got to think about it, man. Like, we're social fucking creatures. We deal with social mirrors all the time. The people that you hang around is a mirror of yourself. If you constantly are negative, take a look at the people that are in your circle. They're probably fucking negative too. And if you want to change the environment and you want to change the habits, then you also got to start changing the way that you show up around these people. And you also got to probably change the people. I remember being in an environment and it was a dog eat dog environment, and I stopped participating. I start pulling people up, start teaching more, start helping. And I stopped putting people down when they would fuck up. Not because I was getting soft, but because I was tired of constantly feeling like feeling like I was a dick all the time, or feeling like I was an asshole all the time. And I think that's what it is right there, though. You know what I mean? The habit. If you change your habits, you're going to change your friends, bro, because your habits are going to determine exactly, right? Like, they're going to determine exactly how you show up in front of somebody. If you're negative, obviously your friends are going to be fucking negative. But if you're a lot more positive, then your friends are going to be a lot more positive. And when I say friends, I just use friends in a general term. I'm not just talking, these people aren't your fucking friends. They could be your coworkers. They could be your junior Marines. They could be your leadership. They could just be people that you interact with. You feel me? But here's the thing, is that if you change the way that you approach people, I promise you, people will change the way they approach you. And because people make up the environment that we're in, hold on, stay with me now, because I think I fucking have something. But if people make up the environment that we're in, and we're trying to change the environment, then maybe we should change the way that we deal with people. And that could change the entire environment. And I say that, man, because of the simple fact that a light bulb just went off in my fucking head. And as we come to a close to this episode, one thing that I need you to understand is that when you walk into a room, right, you have 3 opportunities. You can either make that room better, you can make that room worse, or you can simply just be a part of the room. But what decision you make, you cannot complain about why the room is the way that it is. So I will say this, as we go into this Monday, ask yourself, what do you want to do with this room? Do you want to make it better? Do you want to make it worse? Or do you simply just want to be a part of it? And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Don't forget to head on over to your favorite streaming platform, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or even YouTube, and leave this podcast an honest review, because this podcast deserves to grow just as much as we do. And lastly, don't forget to head on over to the website, meechspeaks.com, grab a shirt, check out an episode, stay hungry, stay motivated. I'm out.